Alright, welcome in. Episode 4 of the Paranormal and Discovery Show. Is it episode 4? It is episode 4. Episode full podcast 4. We've had a bit of a crazy week. A lot of stuff's happened.
I've had a bit of a crazy week.
Yeah.
Personally, and the world's had a bit of a crazy week.
Yeah, it's been full on.
Our weekly focus for the day is actually more of our discovery focus.
Well, we're going to tie the two in together, so let's just get started straight away.
Alright, so we'll start with the story.
We'll start with the story, and then we'll go to the discovery, and then we'll tie that into the weekly focus.
So the story is actually a personal story this time. It's mine. I went away for the week. I went down to Melbourne, down to Victoria, and we went camping one night near Geelong. So if you guys don't know where that is, it's the south coast of Australia, and it's a lot of bushland down there. It's a beautiful piece of country. And it's bloody cold down there. It's freezing. So when we went camping, we were all rugged up, real tight in this one little tent. 3 boys, super rugged up, got jumpers, tracky dacks. Everyone has their own sleeping blanket. I got a big ass blanket myself. Like, we're all really, really cold. And so when we go camping, we also bush bash. So we're not on any trails. We're out in the middle of nowhere, right? So walking through the forest for like half an hour into the bush, clear some land, make a little fire, put a tent in, all rugged up, you know? And during the night, we're all talking around the fire, and we're doing ghost stories back and forth, trying to freak ourselves out, right? Like, as it normally happens. And a couple good ones, a couple shit ones, a couple that obviously really bad and stuff like that, but it's all going well. And you get that sneaky feeling that someone's watching you. You always like turn your head to the really dark.
Ghost stories always seem like the best idea when you start them, and then as soon as you're like going for a little while, you're like, why do we decide to, especially when camping?
Yeah, and there's always that feeling of adrenaline, even if the story doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So we're all like feeling around, looking around, all freaked out, and then one of the friends out there is like really logical, and he's not fazed by any of this. But me and my other friend are just always checking into the darkness, seeing like shadow people in the back and stuff like that, being freaked out, and then we're like, all right, let's look at the bed, boys. This is getting a bit freaky for us. And he's like, all right. So we all jump in the bed, all cozied up, and as the night goes on, we're all we talk before going, like it's a sleepover, so you have a little bit of conversation before bed, obviously. And we stop talking all of a sudden. There's a bit of a break for like a couple of minutes, and then our friend decides just to scream out into the night. And he's like, fuck you! And what the hell's going on? It's like, I just had to express some energy, boys. And then he just passes out. And we're like, that was the weirdest thing. Bit strange. But the more scary thing is that someone calls back.
Oh no!
In the middle of the bush. And it's more like, who's out there? Someone screams. We think they scream out there, but they're far away.
Yeah.
Right, and we're like, what the hell? Was that someone else? And then we're like, the guy who yells at wakes up and is like, did you guys hear that? Did someone just scream back at me? It's like 100% that was it. And we're all sitting up in the tent being like, oh my god, what do we do? Do we pack up and like leave?
Yeah.
Like, because we are camping illegally. We've made a fire illegally. And the first step is to go out and put the fire out. And we're like, all right, go put the fire out. And then the other friend's like, no, like that wasn't anyone. We're in the middle of nowhere. Why would anyone be out there? So he screams, and it's like, who's there? He screams really loud. And I'm like, dude, shut up. If someone's actually out there, like, that's not a good idea. And then we hear a scream back saying, I'm coming. And it's a lot closer this time. And we're like, oh my God. So we run out, we put the fire out straight away. And like, all right, what do we do? What's next? And then he's like, I'm just going to pack the tent up real quickly. So he demolishes the tent, puts it in his bag, like all sloppy and shit. And so we're like, all right, let's just go to the bush and just like chill. And by the way, we're freezing our dicks. Like, it's cold as hell.
Yeah.
And so pack it all up. We'll run to the bush. We get away from our campground.
Yeah.
And we were sitting down there for like what felt like half an hour or so. And we don't see anyone come by or anything like that. And we're like, it's a little bit weird, man. Like, what do we do? Do we just get up and leave, go back to the trail and head back to town? Or like, what's the idea? Do we just go off to the car and drive back or something? And he's like, don't really want to ruin the night. Like, I'm like, the night's already kind of ruined if someone's out here looking for us. And so the idea is we just stay put for a bit longer. And nothing really comes of it. No one shows up. No one's walking around. And so we decide to like, all right, let's just set the tent up again and go back to bed, and
Yeah.
it'd be fine. And so that's what we do. We set the tent up again, go back to bed. We make sure that friend doesn't yell out again. They don't yell. And he's like, yeah, I'm not yelling again, boys. And so we sit there, and all of us are awake. We're quiet. We're like, you guys going to sleep yet? And he's like, no. And then all of a sudden we hear like whistling in the distance, like something like maybe like a bird sound or something. And he's like, oh, maybe it's early. Maybe the sun's coming up. Birds waking up. And my friend's like, bro, that's not a bird whistling. That's some guy whistling, surely. And we're just like, no, shut up. He's freaking out at this point. And then the whistle gets closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And it's real strange. And then it sounds like someone is outside the tent, like where we are, like whistling.
Okay.
And we're like, what the fuck what is going on?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And no one has the balls to look out or anything. And so we just stay dead silent. And then the whistle slowly goes away. And we think the guy or whoever it was just walked off. And it definitely sounded bloody human. It was like, it like had breaks and like breath and pauses and stuff like a human does. And I'm like, that's the weirdest shit. And so we're just dead awake, eyes wide, and it goes off, and then we'll all wait for the rest of the night, get up. Someone has a balls, look at the tent when the sun's up, and like, let's just go. We pack it up and we walk up and drive off.
And did you see anything?
No.
It's lucky. So there was someone out there.
Yeah, we reckon.
But you just don't know who. Interesting.
Yeah, so, and that happened a couple of days ago. So if someone's listening to this and you were walking around in the bush in the middle of the night, you passed by a tent and were walking, you can piss off, mate. You scared the bloody... Oh, mate, we were terrified. Honest to God. So scary.
Yeah,
so scary.
night in the bush is always so scary because you hear all these noises and you don't know what it is, and it could be anything. And you're just not used to... You feel like out in the bush is quiet compared to the city, but if you're in your room, it's quiet. If you're out in a tent, there's lots of noises.
And we're not talking just like bush walk and there's like little campground. We're talking like we weren't walking on any trails. We were in the bush. Like climbing over trees, climbing through plants and bushes and stuff, like for like half an hour. Like we're out there. There's no trails around at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it really was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that we heard like...
How'd you find your way back?
My mate has a really good memory, and there's obviously a path that we kind of created ourselves, and it's pretty much just a straight line from the trail and like nothing around. But it was...
It's lucky.
Mate, it was scary. I didn't think my life was on the line or anything, but I thought like maybe like there's a bush ranger out here or something like checking up on us.
Yeah.
And especially during all this coronavirus mess as well. It's like we didn't see anyone on the trail.
If anyone would be out there though, trying to catch someone.
Yeah.
For spreading coronavirus.
Yeah. No, I mean like the sense like no one's going to be out there anyway because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like people are inside, not doing anything. So yeah, that's my little story.
It's the story of the week. Interesting.
Yeah, pretty freaky stuff.
So the weekly discovery is the idea that... So we all remember the Mayan calendar in 2012. And that was kind of... whoever said that was supposed to be the end of the world got it wrong. It was the end of an astrological cycle.
Yeah, we're still alive and going.
Yes. It was never... No, but that's the thing. It wasn't just that they got the end of the world wrong. It was never actually supposed to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
So basically the idea is that the Sun and Sirius, it takes thousands of years, but they're apart, and at one point they cross each other's orbits in terms of like the solar system and stuff. And when they cross each other's orbits, that's called the Golden Age. And I might put a diagram in the description to show you what I mean. But when they're at the furthest point from each other, it's called the Dark Age, or the Dark Ages. And at the absolute furthest point is supposedly the darkest age in humanity, right? And that was supposedly December 21st, makes sense, it was a solstice, 2012. And basically what it meant was now the Sun and Sirius actually getting closer to each other, which is actually a good thing because it symbols a new astrological age and an increasingly better astrological age. And you might say, well, why is now considered the Dark Ages? Well, it's considered the Dark Ages because people are super... they can't think for themselves, they're completely governed by animal instincts, they're materialistic, they're empty, they have no connection to a higher power or anything like that. And I like this I'm not like religious per se, but this like staunch atheist idea that we're the best off we've ever been isn't really true. I mean, we're more miserable than we've ever been. So, like, I mean, suicide is as high as it's ever gotten. Like, people aren't living how people are supposed to live, and we kind of mask that with all these technological advancements as if that actually... no doubt technology is good in many aspects, but to act like we're happier because we have iPhones is stupid. Yeah. And so apparently some people think that the Mayan calendar may have been misinterpreted, and that the 21st of December 2012 was actually the 21st of July 2020. And I think that might be kind of... I don't think that's entirely true. I think 2012 makes more sense because it is the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where all the astrology is kind of done off. And I know the Mayans were the Southern Hemisphere, but the astrological science is based on the Northern Hemisphere. But it's kind of interesting to think because... One thing some people were saying is that Trump put his rally on that day deliberately because it symboled a new age, and it's kind of his war with the establishment and everything, and because it's kind of saying it's kind of a spiritual battle. And a lot of ancient cultures, the solstice, so the 21st of December and 21st of June were really big days, and same with the equinoxes as well.
By the way, just we're recording this on the 22nd of June, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, the world didn't end,
yes,
so it's even more proof that it was never supposed to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
And the same with the equinox as well, the 21st of March and the 21st of September. They're all big days in the astrological calendar, and so a lot of rituals generally occurred on those days. So
there's more meaning behind Trump just putting his day on the 21st. There might be some...
Potentially, yeah.
Correlation.
Yeah. Like, for example, the reason Halloween is celebrated on October 31st is because it's when the sun more or less enters the lower zodiacs of the cycle and everything like that. A lot of these things are all astrological based. I'm not an expert in it, but I know the basics. And so people were thinking maybe he put that rally on that day for like different energies or whatever. And a lot of things seem to be happening right now that are certainly evoking lots of chaotic energies, and, you know, who knows why. If you're familiar with the Yuga cycle, it's basically the Hindu idea that humanity follows different cycles. And so there are 4 different cycles, can't remember what they're all called, but the bottom one, the Dark Ages, is called Kali Yuga. And it's pretty much unanimous that we are in that right now, if not actually... in a white pilling sense, actually leaving Kali Yuga. But anyone who knows that we are in or around Kali Yuga. We're definitely not going into it. Like, we're well and truly in it, if anything, on the way out of it.
Chaos, yes. Bad things.
Chaos, materialism, just...
Brainwashing,
yeah, people can't think of themselves. All that stuff, like the Book of Revelations and stuff predicts, is all about Kali Yuga. And that's why all these religious texts kind of talk of a time where... all this crazy stuff happens in the world, and and there are cycles within cycles and everything like that. So there are mini cycles and there are macro cycles, and we can go on forever. But I wanted to kind of say that that's kind of, and this is where it ties into the weekly focus, because we'll do a weekly focus a bit on solar cycles, and because it ties into our full moon stuff we did last week. But the idea is that these cycles, where we are now, is actually quite good. And a lot of people have this kind of really black-pilled attitude that everything's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But actually it's getting better and better and better. I think what the 21st of December 2012 marked was the exact bottom of the Kali Yuga cycle.
So we're going up.
So we're coming up, and it's going to be a long time. It takes a long time. We're not going to get to the top in our lifetimes. In the micro cycle, we might. And I can describe the microcycle, but the macro cycle, that takes thousands of years. But the microcycle, think of it like this. So the Yuga cycle at the top, right? It's kind of, and about halfway down, imagine like a wheel kind of thing, is a very spiritual age where people are spiritually guided by things like virtue, a higher power. They're kind of not ego-driven. They're considered the golden age. All the good stuff that we'd love to be able to do, but our ego and things get in the way. Then we go into the stage where we're more governed by monarchy and philosophy and things like that. And so, instead of taking our living advice from Siddhartha, we take it from someone like Nietzsche. And then as we go down a bit more, we become a bit more money and economic and physical prosperity focused. And as we go down more, we're starting to lose a bit of virtue and stuff like that. And then the Kali Yuga phase, which is the bottom, we're very much in a nihilistic, materialistic, egocentric kind of stage of humanity, and then it ascends up again. And the good news is that the better cycles last longer. So the best cycle lasts the longest, the next best cycle lasts the second longest, the third best lasts the next longest, and Kali Yuga is the shortest. But so where I'm kind of trying to go with this is in a micro sense, people were very spiritual in the 1920s. They were guided a lot by spirituality. People think like Western nations were super Christian back then, and they kind of were. But even that's, spirituality guiding people. People cared about a higher purpose. There was a lot of occultism going on then, and that doesn't just mean bad. The occult is neither good nor bad. It's just a thing. It's like it's like a hammer. It can be used to build a house for a homeless person, or it can be used to hit someone with a head and kill them. The occult is neither good nor bad. It's what you use it for. And then in the 1950s, we kind of descended down the Yuga cycle a bit. It was still prosperous, and we see it as a virtuous time, but it was a bit more money focused, a bit more individualistic, a little less spiritual, but it was more traditional conservative.
Everyone's trying to get rich.
Yeah, and that's kind of the next step down. And then you look at like the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and that's the third one. I think it's called Dharma Yuga. And that's where it's all about, experimentation with the self, kind of just putting fun before prosperity and virtue, and just kind of, you're a bit more liberal in your beliefs. You're a lot more, you're a bit more of a postmodernist in the sense that you question the authority. Why do I need to go to church or whatever? I can have more fun. And that's why all the boomers talk about how fun their few decades of life were. I mean, that also has to do with the fact that they're young and now they're old and boring and depressed. But that's why that kind of era was seen as fun, because it had it still had the remains of the higher Yuga cycles left over.
Yeah.
And then when you hit about the 90s, it was kind of heroin and Nirvana, and people didn't dress well. And then in the 2000s, it was just the shit of the music goes, more materialistic.
TV shows.
Yeah, trash on your TV and stuff like that. And then that reached its...
Hiding the truth from people.
Hiding the truth, people not thinking for themselves. People don't even know what the word virtue means.
Everyone believed in the media. Mm-hmm. Everyone believed whatever the media said.
Yeah, no one believes in a higher power except for himself. And then since December 21st, 2012... which makes sense astrologically, we have been ascending up. And so you might think, well, things are going crazy right now. Who says it's any better? Well, no, it doesn't go up in a perfectly clean way. Obviously, it has its, there'll be the odd bad week or month or anything.
Microcycles.
Yeah, it'll have tiny microcycles. Every day you could put into it. You could make a Yuga cycle in a single day. But that's the kind of 100-year-long cycle. So I think by 2030 we'll actually notice that the Earth is quite a bit different, and people who are really into their astrology, who know a million times as much as I do, say that about the late 2020s is when the planetary alignments are kind of a nice alignment for us again. This guy I was listening to, he basically said, and he said this in January 2020, he's like, Jupiter and Pluto are in, I can't remember which house it was, but they're in the same house. And he said, when they're both in the same house, it's chaotic. And he's like, 2020 is going to be a chaotic year. 2021 will be a little bit better, but still pretty chaotic. And he was freaking right. 2020 has been the most chaotic year.
Crazy.
But he did say it gets increasingly better from here on. And that makes perfect sense, because we're ascending up the Yuga cycle. So I think
think about it even now. The bad things that happening now will hopefully lead to good things.
And that's the thing. we're learning a lot of this stuff, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. We're learning to, I mean, some people aren't having the best approach to all this, but we're learning to think about...
There'll be solutions to it. Think about the coronavirus. A lot of healthcare systems will improve and be able to manage.
People will be
smarter.
More
insane diseases, you know.
They will take things less for granted. You know, with the whole Black Lives Matter stuff, people are knowing, maybe I've got to listen to someone else's side of the story.
Yeah.
We're humans at the end of the day, and things like that.
We're not driven by the color of our skin.
And so I think, and this is the growing pains, because it's darkest before dawn. That's the thing as well. And this guy who was explaining the astrology, he said that it's the kind of energy where Jupiter, and if you don't believe this stuff, you don't have to, but I was skeptical of it, but literally everything he said has been 100% true. So, I mean, I'm giving him benefit of the doubt at the moment.
Yeah.
And it fits in perfectly with the big Yuga Cycles that I was kind of talking about. But it's darkest before dawn, and he said the energy is kind of it's going to be painful and it's going to be frustrating, but it's a necessary painful and frustrating. Like, the same way you never grow in any aspect unless you get out of your comfort zone. Humanity is getting out of their comfort zone right now.
People don't grow.
Yeah, we're having uncomfortable conversations, and it's because we spent the last 60 years just being lazy and like just doing whatever we felt good, and that's come back to bite us. And that's the energy of the world, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to descend up the Yuga cycle, and in the micro sense, and even in the macro sense, we're actually ascending up. People think we're a Dharpa Yuga ascending. I think that's how you pronounce it. And so we're
coming out
second off the bottom. So we're out of Kali Yuga in the macro sense. But anyway, I don't know if that's true or not. But the micro sense, we're on the way up, and I reckon by 2050 we're going to be fairly high up the Yuga cycle. So I think the world is going to become more conservative and more philosophical, and there'll be a much higher emphasis on honor and virtue and proper education, and less on materialism. And you can see how people are waking up. Like, more men than ever are quitting porn, more people than ever are realizing that materialism actually doesn't make them happy. More people than ever are realizing that money isn't the only driving force in life.
With self-help and self-mastery.
Yeah, self-help, Which is people realizing their higher deals.
Yuga cycle.
Yuga cycle, yeah.
So they're getting out of materialistic things. They're getting out of egocentric stuff. They're not focused on what porn video they're going to watch next. They're focused on how to improve themselves. Normally spiritually as well. That includes meditation.
Yoga. Meditation has erupted.
Yeah.
And because you think like things like people saying they're trying to quit porn or whatever. Like, I was watching a YouTube channel, like, he's a kind of a self-help guy. He's called, what's he called? The Universal Man, I think.
Oh, dude, I've looked at him.
You know him? Yeah. And I remember watching one of his videos, and he was talking about like the dangers of porn like 5 years ago, and no one was saying that back then. And now
everyone's saying
there's like if you looked up why porn is bad on YouTube.
If you guys go no fap on YouTube, you'll find millions of videos. If you go self-help on YouTube, there's so many videos. It's everywhere. Fitness experts trying to get people fitter.
Yeah.
A lot of dietitian and nutrition stuff on YouTube as well. It's all over the place now. If you looked at it 5 years ago.
Well, another thing, it was there, but a lot of the things 5, 6, 7 years ago, like 2012-ish, it was all about, there was a lot of fitness stuff, but it was all how to look good.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was bodybuilding, it was materialistic. Now the health stuff, like,
that's
there's so many more videos about these 5 foods do this for, like, there's so much more about like actual health and looking after yourself and doing good things.
Not to look good, so to speak.
But back when you went back to 2012, there was a lot more just looking good. There was no like dangers of porn kind of thing. There was no no-fap stuff.
Yeah.
So I know this has been a long-winded rant, but it just shows you that that's where society's heading. So I think we're going to become more we're going to detach from materialism, and then we're going to be less kind of philosophical. I mean, no, we're going to become more philosophical, and then we'll just keep going up and up and up, and then eventually people will become very spiritual. I think meditation will just maybe in like 50 years time, meditation will just be like a norm for so many people. Like it's kind of going to be weird if you don't meditate.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see it going. So, that was kind of like a big long-winded answer, but I think that's such an interesting topic because in times like now where people are so kind of black-pilled about everything, and if you don't know what black-pilled means, it means just kind of doom and gloom and just,
There's no hope.
Yeah, there's no hope kind of thing. These are uncomfortable growing pains, but they're necessary growing pains, and we'll thank ourselves later.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying with this.
And as a society, we'll grow and improve.
We will, yeah. So if we leave you with nothing else tonight, let me leave you with that
have some hope, man.
The world's actually getting better, even though it doesn't feel like it. These are necessary growing pains. 2020
is a crazy year, but don't let it.
It's a necessary. Think of it like doing a tough workout. The workout hurts, but the more you hurt in the moment, the more dividends it pays off. You know.
Yeah.
The more you don't grow when you're in your comfort zone, and you think of like the 1990s as like the pinnacle of like a comfort zone. Like everyone just kind of watched The Simpsons and like just chilled out and had fun and like, you know, watched TV and ate junk food and didn't really care and like just, you know, and like that stuff's fine. Like everyone loves indulging in pleasures.
Yeah.
No one's telling you can't do that, but
yeah,
that was all kind of life was. And when you neglect the important things,
you end up becoming miserable.
Yeah, and
if you're not healthy, you feel miserable.
And the problems in society build up, and they start to snowball.
Yeah.
And at first you don't notice them, but then 20 years later you do.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
have some hope, people.
Yeah,
it's not the end of the world as everyone thinks it is. Shall we get on to our discoveries?
Well, that kind of was the discovery
the actual
focus.
But the other two discoveries that we had.
Other discovery news.
Yeah, so two things have been announced, and they're movie and pop culture related to the horror genre overall.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is Stephen King is writing a book about Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? Do you reckon his take's going to be crazy or like completely different?
I think he'll add a much bigger psychological aspect to it.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll obviously be. We've talked about Friday the 13th a lot on this channel. It'll be much less
stereotypical
but just like kind of fun, cheesy slasher. I feel like he'll add a backstory.
I reckon it's gonna be scary. I reckon Stephen King makes it scary.
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah,
it's probably like 2,500 pages. Like this is books.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Through. I think he'll probably add some kind of psychological element to it. Although I don't really know.
Most of his books are pretty psychological though.
Well, they're deep, you know. And yeah, I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see his take on it. Because I don't think it'll be just a rewrite of the movies, you know?
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, it definitely won't be a rewrite. But that'll be cool. Do you know when he expects it to...
No, nothing like that. It says here, Stephen King's best unused idea is Friday the 13th. From Jason's point of view, so it's definitely going to be psychological.
Yeah, like just when I said, like he'll add a backstory to Jason, I think. So that'd be cool. Looking forward to seeing that then.
Yeah, there's no idea when that's going to come out.
Probably won't be for it.
He's probably writing some other crazy stuff anyway.
He writes 4 hours a day, so... Yeah.
That guy's definitely a cokehead.
No, that's his thing actually. He writes from 8 a.m. till 12 every day and then that's it. It works for him, I guess. He's a bit of a weirdo.
He's a freaky looking dude, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, he would have some strange thoughts, but, you know...
Yeah, well, he's described as
he's so...
king of horror. But I've read a couple of his books that I haven't liked, though.
No, he's hit and miss.
Yeah.
Because he's written absolute classics like It, but then he's also written ones that just no one really knows and all likes. He wrote Carrie, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Surely, yeah. Oh, am I wrong?
Dude, he has a lot of books by him.
Oh no, yeah, no, he's got heaps. But yeah, I'd be interested in a Friday the 13th one.
Yeah.
And as for the other one,
what was it again?
so the other one is that the new Halloween has been announced.
The
So
sequel to the 2018 movie?
18 remake, yeah, and it's called Halloween Ends, which is a bit sad because it means that
You reckon that's the end of the series? Or you
it's
reckon...
called Halloween Ends. What else is it?
I don't know, bro.
And
like,
until we wait for like the 2025 remake. I mean, no,
yeah, exactly.
like the 2035 remake or something.
It's going to definitely be a remake.
No, click news. Go Halloween Ends news. That's 2018 film. And so yeah, because the 2018 one was left on a bit of a cliffhanger.
The 2021 comes out?
Just look at Halloween Ends. I don't know. I just saw the cover, the album, not the album artwork, the cover art.
The cover artwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a delay already.
Yeah, no surprise. So I guess we'll watch it on Halloween 2021. So it's not going to come out for over a year.
Wait, I'm getting mixed reports here. It says it's Halloween Kills.
Oh, okay.
So it might not be Halloween Ends.
Well, I saw Halloween Ends on the poster kind of thing.
What? Oh, there might be two new movies. There might be Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
Well,
It says here Halloween Kills was shot back to back with Halloween Ends. Unless Halloween Kills was the 2018 movie.
is it?
I don't think so.
Are we like way off the ball here?
No, yeah, Halloween Kills is the next movie.
Oh, sick. So there are two more.
So there's two more movies.
Oh, that's great news.
Halloween Kills is a shit name for a movie.
That doesn't make sense, yeah. Halloween Kills 2020.
Yeah.
And then
October.
Halloween Ends 2021.
How did we miss this? When was this announced?
When was the hell? What?
What the hell?
Okay, so there's Halloween 2018, then there's Halloween Kills 2020, and then there's Halloween Ends 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, that's sick.
That's insane.
That's great news. Focus on the positives.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back as Laurie Strode, and Michael Myers is coming back as well, played by Nick Castle.
Yeah, he played Michael in the last one.
Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, no, that's Samuel Loomis is coming back as well. Okay.
That's awesome. Oh well, that's great news. We thought it was only two, but now it's. We thought it was only one, but now it's two.
Alright, sequel, and now it's Halloween Ends. That's 2021. I can't get over it. Halloween Kills is a terrible name.
Yeah, I don't care. I just want to see the movie.
That's awesome. Just call it Halloween 2020.
Yeah, because I reckon we have to watch Halloween 2018 again because just to remind us of what happened. Because I remember it ended on a cliffhanger with like Laurie Strode's granddaughter had a knife and it looked like she was going to be the kind of the new final girl. Yeah, so interesting.
Big time. So two good.
Yeah, that's sick. So we've got a Friday the 13th book written by Stephen King coming, and we've got two Halloweens coming, and I guess the Halloween Kills is probably already announced.
I wonder if the book is based off the first movie, or if it's like...
It's probably not based off any of them.
I think it's going to be like...
I think he'll just use the concept.
I think it's going to be him as a child with his mum leading him to be the killer.
Yeah, probably. Oh, that's what he'll do. He'll use the whole mother-son archetype.
If you guys don't know, spoilers, the first movie, the mum's a killer. Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows that. But he'll use the whole mother-son weird connection archetype, like some Oedipus complex kind of weird thing. I reckon that'll be interesting. Because Stephen King is known to get a bit weird, and...
I guess if you guys have just watched it and haven't read the books are complete.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
It's off the chain. Like it's there's like two different stories. It's like the psychological, I don't know, idea behind it and it as a killer. Yeah, it's two completely different things, and it's crazy stuff. So I think Friday the 13th will kind of...
Yeah, Stephen King had a big mother-son, Oedipus complex, weird archetype
Yeah, I understand.
relation to it. But yeah, anyway.
Anyway, those are the two.
We get to our quotes of the week.
So we do the quotes. You can go. You can go first.
So my quote is, millionaires don't care about astrology, billionaires do. And that's kind of not really a quote from anyone in particular, no, but it's just kind of a saying, is that relating back to what we talked about with the astrology stuff, people who are millionaires, you can become a millionaire being a regular person. It can happen. You just need a good business idea. But to become a billionaire, things really need to happen, and you need to believe in some stuff, and you probably need to take chances that normal people aren't interested in or don't even consider.
Yeah.
So that's where my quote comes from, and it's something to think about, because I thought that was an interesting quote when I heard it.
Yeah. Mine is from Robert Frost, the famous poet. It is, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice.
What's that mean?
So, in basic terms, people read into like Robert Frost like beyond belief. Like, he's one of the most biggest poets in the world. People get into every single snippet of
Analyze
words,
yeah.
But in basic terms, it means it literally means what it means. Some people, the end of the world in a big bang, and it would be a massive event like the end of the world in 2020. I mean, 2012. Everyone thought it was going to be
a huge explosion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people thought Yellowstone Park was going to explode. Massive floods everywhere. Asteroid hitting the Earth. Everything. The world will end in this crazy event, like insane event. But the other side of it is, some say in ice. So it won't be a big crazy event.
Just eventually freeze over.
Or not necessarily. It would be just a slow death.
Yeah,
it'll die over time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just slowly,
Which
gradually die off and freeze over.
I reckon it's probably more realistic, to be honest.
Yeah, if it does end, I think every generation. This is an interesting thing. Every generation thought their generation was going to be the generation where the world ends.
Yeah,
and it's never been that way.
Yeah,
and they've always gone, this time we have nuclear weapons, or this time we have this world war or whatever, or we have the Spanish flu, or just all this stuff. And it's never happened. It's not going to happen. At least for the foreseeable future.
I reckon the idea that some say ice is more realistic than a big bang, because if there was a big event, say like a nuclear war or like Yellowstone exploding, there'll always be some sort of survivors, right?
People in New Zealand aren't going to get killed by Yellowstone exploding.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll always be some survivors, and that's when it's more turned into ice,
Yeah.
That's when it's just a slow decay of human society and people, and eventually they become extinct, and it's not just an instantaneous thing. It's over. It can be over like thousands of years,
That makes more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, I don't know. Yeah, maybe at the darkest point of the macro, maybe the Yuga cycle will go all the way around, and then at the lowest point, that's when it'll end in like 8,000 years.
It'll just keep going like that, and then it'll just die.
Or even more. There's probably even a bigger Yuga cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't even know about, where whole galaxies are like, it's how they, the same relation the sun has with Sirius is the same relation those galaxies have to each other. Yeah, maybe.
That was just kind of relating to the end of the world kind of thing.
And all the doomsday.
Yeah, I'm always been interested in how people think the world is going to end. How do you think the world's going to end?
Well, it depends what you mean by world. Do you mean Earth, or do you mean all of time and space and everything?
Oh, I mean like human society. That's what we mean when the world is. Most people, when they say the world is going to end, they don't necessarily mean the actual Earth is going to explode and die.
Just human society.
Because I reckon the Earth's always going to keep going unless it literally breaks up from something in space, or the sun eats it and shit, It's, when people say the world is going to die, it's humans won't exist anymore. So how do you think humans will die out, basically?
I give it a few thousand years, and I think there'll be something in which we can't even imagine. Like, everyone's consciousness will leave their body and go to some weird thing, and I don't even know. We'll work out a way to like ascend out of our bodies and live as just consciousness and something like that. I don't think it'll be because of some big war or anything.
I don't think it will be a war.
I think things will get less and less physical the more advanced we get.
I think the way, if all humans were going to die out like that, I think the only way it would be is some sort of crazy ass disease that spreads like instantaneously and kills you instantaneously, you know?
Yeah. Seems unlikely though.
Yeah, there's so many people. That's the thing, there's so many people in the world that even crazy events like an epidemic or like a war, there'll always be heaps of people to still carry on, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Who knows? We can speculate all we want.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
not going to be right.
yeah, exactly.
All we know is we're not right with whatever prediction we make. So the mailbag.
So we get to the last bit. We've got one popular question is other platforms.
So like, are we going to put our audio on other platforms? Yes, we will. We're going to plan that probably this coming weekend. And we're gonna be on like Spotify, SoundCloud probably. I don't know about the uploading.
We already have a couple things on SoundCloud, and we do have a couple things on BitChute as well.
Yeah, we're on BitChute too. If you don't like YouTube,
which is fair enough because YouTube is kind of up its
cucked. Yeah.
We are on Facebook. You can go give us a like.
We have a Facebook page, the Paranormal Discovery Show. Yeah, we'll start promoting our social medias more because we haven't really used the Facebook at all.
We should. But if you just want to listen to us, YouTube's probably the best bet, or BitChute.
And we will also put stuff on like Podbean and all that, Apple Podcasts.
Spotify.
So that's all coming, and we're gonna like plan that in our social media stuff properly this weekend. So if you want to follow us, you'll be able to follow us much more easily.
Yeah. Also, you will have a movie review coming very soon. We are planning on watching either Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Depending on which one we can find, because Netflix plus the Foxtel store isn't super friendly. It might end up being another movie, but...
Yeah, but you will get a movie review in the next week.
Yeah, and we're going to film it in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So we're off to watch a horror movie.
Yeah, back in the good days, you know?
Yes, we can finally just put our feet up for a bit.
I hope you guys have a great week and don't try and worry about too much.
I mean, it seems like the world's ending, but just go outside, look outside. It's nice weather. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Everything's going to be fine.
If this is the end of the world, they're doing a terrible job of it.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
because most people are completely unaffected. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.